yourself and tell me where we are today and the grade level that you're teaching.
Okay. My name is Sandra Sobin, and we are in Naperville, Illinois, at May Watts Elementary. It's part of District 204, Indian Prairie School District, and I'm teaching first grade.
Okay, cool. So the only thing is I'm going to have you keep the chair as still as
that's going to be
possible.
hard. Oh, yeah.
I know.
I know.
I usually don't let people
Sit in rocking chairs, or I have to
Right,
think
but-
about that.
but
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, so good intro. Okay, let me find your question. All right, so starting off, we want to understand the decisions you made in planning for this lesson and how it fits into the unit and year. How does this lesson connect to and build on students' prior skills and knowledge?
We're just beginning a unit called Our Diverse Community, and in this unit, our whole purpose is to reach the changing demographics that we have in this school, and I'm sure that other schools are facing the same problem. The purpose of this is to have children be able to see themselves in literature, and the hope is that they'll get a better understanding then of identifying with themselves and understanding that they're not that different from everybody else, and being able to empathize, see that we're all interconnected, and be able to then understand their place in the world and their place in the classroom and their place in the school.
Great. What was taught before this lesson and what will come after it?
We begin this unit by having students read books from different cultures and different countries. We started out with Mrs. Muddle's Holidays, which is a book where a woman comes into the community and she makes up all kinds of holidays like Earthworm Day and Watermelon Day. And from that we springboard to different books about different culture holidays. We also do a speaking and listening project where each student gets to do a presentation, an oral presentation about a special custom or holiday that they celebrate. We also do a poetry study with a book called On This Day in the World, where it talks about what's happening on an exact day all around the world. And then we also do a text set of nonfiction books, one of them being This Is Our House, to show all the different types of homes around the world and how it depends on what the natural resources are. We also study different holidays like Ramadan, Las Posada, we do Diwali, and just do a big diverse unit and show children that we're all similar by celebrating lots of different things and how unique and special we all are.
Is the text used in this lesson part of a sequence of text designed to build skills and knowledge? If so, please give example of other texts that form this sequence.
The standard and the sequence we're working on right now is character study. In Unit 1, we really emphasized the decision-making that characters made and how the decisions that characters made affected other characters and how the decisions affected the book. And now we're doing comparison of decision or comparison of characters and contrasting characters and showing how they are similar and alike, and how by looking at key details in a story, you can describe characters and the effect that they have on the story.
Talk about the standards targeted in this lesson. What did you do to make the lesson reflect the full intent of that standard?
I used the standard R7 and R9, which are the standards for characters to be... Oh, shoot. Stop. Yeah, let me do that one again. Oh, I had those completely memorized.
Sure.
What were they? Oh, where is it? R7 and R5. Okay, there they are.
You want me to read the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about the standards targeted in this lesson. What did you do to make the lesson reflect the full intent of that standard?
I used the two standards, RL and R9, to have the characters be compared and contrasted, and also to be looking at the key details of the illustrations and the text, so that the children would have to go into the story to be able to find the answers to the questions.
Good. Which,
Oh, good, perfect.
Super. Which of the core action indicators do you think this lesson best exemplifies, and why?
I used all of the first 3 core action indicators. There really weren't a lot from number 4, which is the foundational skills, other than those would be shown in their writing of their Venn diagram. The first core action indicator, which was using the text, I felt that the text had really great illustrations, real deep illustration. There was a lot of listening. The activity had collaborating, and the students did their own writing. As far as the questioning, which is the second core indicator, there was a lot of questioning, a lot of deeper thinking, a lot of pondering. I like to think that there was a lot of questioning going on in the small group portion of the activity also. And they also had to make sure that they answered their questions by using the evidence in the text, which is part of the second core indicator. And as far as the third core indicator, that revolves around engagement, and the students were very engaged when they were in their small groups. They were talking to each other. They were looking into the book, looking at pictures, looking at the text to find their answers, discussing whether or not they thought it was valid, and then writing it down on their Venn diagram.
Excuse me. Okay, next set of questions. We're interested in how the shifts required by the CCSS are being incorporated into your instruction. Discuss how this lesson illustrates the shifts required by the CCSS. The first shift being that you should be using much more nonfiction in your lessons was probably used just slightly in this particular lesson. However, in this unit, we do a lot of pairings of nonfiction in this unit. However, I do like to incorporate nonfiction in lessons, even if it's a little bit. I did incorporate some of the research in this lesson by looking up the rickshaw, and by using the map. We like to use little tiny tidbits of nonfiction whenever we can. The second shift of looking for evidence in the text was very pronounced by the children using the text at their seats in their cooperative groups and looking up the evidence and the pictures in the text when they were doing their writing. And the third shift of using strong academic language and complex text was shown even if the word rickshaw wasn't actually explicitly said in the text, by pulling that out as a 2-tier vocabulary word, doing a little bit of research on it and discussing it was evidence of using one of the shifts in my lesson. How did you teach the contents of this lesson prior to the CCSS? What's the same and what's different?
Prior to the Common Core standards, I really never emphasized the evidence part nearly as much as I do now. We would have done a similar activity, however, I would have just relied on students' memory. I would have never probably had the text in front of them and had them actually go and find the evidence in the text. I never did the research like I did now. Typically in first grade, research was saved for the end of the year, and we did a big unit on research. Whereas now with the Common Core, I try to incorporate research almost on a daily basis, if not for sure a weekly basis. Research in Common Core now is meant to be 5 minutes to 5 days, and so you can incorporate research into just about any type of a lesson.
Student engagement is crucial to the work of the CCSS. We want to understand how you ensured that all students had the opportunity to productively engage in the work of the lesson. Question 1, how did you support all students working with grade level text? For example, how did you provide scaffolding for students below grade level so they can read grade level text?
Well, in this particular lesson, the students weren't expected to actually have to read. I did the read aloud. In my classroom, I do a lot of front load of scaffolding by the way that I set up my cooperative groups. I actually have what I call moving day at the beginning of every month, and my classroom then is set up by their cooperative groups, and I spend a lot of time making my cooperative groups on moving day. And so in my cooperative groups, I have them arranged by ability groups. And depending on what the expectation or the outcome of the group is, I have them already leveled. I also make sure that I have my special ed students grouped with someone that I know will be patient and will help them if I'm not available to help them, since they don't have a teaching assistant assigned to them at this time. I'm also always there to give them, the support that they need.
Great. Second part of that, how did you create opportunities for students who are advanced to engage more deeply with grade level text?
In this case, again, they didn't have to actually read the test, but now when I do go into my guided reading sessions after this text, I intend to extend this test, and we're going to continue to do research on India, and they're going to have the opportunity to go off on their own and pick a topic that they would like to do some research on. We're also going to read some more books that are at their level about topics that they've chosen about India, and some more diverse other areas that they would be interested in doing. So that gives them the opportunity to read text at their level and on their own interests.
How do you know the students were able to successfully respond to the text-dependent questions and tasks with precision? Prior to this, the first month of school, we did similar activities to this. I always use the I do, we do, you do model. So we've practiced doing Venn diagrams prior to this lesson with the I do method first, and then the we do and you do. So I knew that they could successfully complete a Venn diagram. And doing it with cooperative groups, there's always that ability to talk through it with other students. Did students acquire the literary skills addressed in the lesson?
I believe they did. I think they did a great job of understanding what the task was, and they were able to go and look for the evidence in the task and record it.
Okay. What did you do for students who did not acquire the literary skills addressed in the lesson?
By going from group to group, I was able to talk through some of the answers that needed a little more probing, a little more talking through it. And just by talking and questioning, I think they were able to work through it and come to the correct answer.
Which behaviors from Core Action 3 did the students best exemplify in this lesson? What actions have you taken as a teacher to make that happen?
That's a long
great.
one. Oh, God. Let me stop a minute. What was?
You want me to pause
Yeah,
that?
pause that. Okay.
All right. So which behaviors from Core Action 3 did the students best exemplify in this lesson?
My children actually are very used to working in cooperative groups. I've taught lessons on how they link their thinking, how they take turns listening to each other and building on what the other person is thinking. I group my children at the beginning of the month according to their cooperative groups, and then the expectations are always repeated and gone over before they do sit down to do their cooperative groups. So I usually have very good success in them working and engaging together in their cooperative groups.
Great instructors are continuously learning. We want to understand what you celebrated in this lesson and what you would improve upon. Reflecting on the lesson, what worked particularly well and what might you do differently?
I think the lesson actually went very well. The one thing I think that I would do differently is that I noticed some of the children's eyes really lit up when I started showing pictures of India and some of the things that they recognized. So I think I would actually like to revisit this book again, and I'd like to take the time for them to actually go through and be able to identify with things that they recognize and have some discussions just about some of the experiences that maybe some of the children have actually had or some of the things that they've done, and let them have a chance to really talk about those things and share with the rest of the children. So I really would like to spend another day with this book and revisit it and give them a chance to really talk about it.
Were there any surprises or unexpected student behaviors or reactions?
I was actually very surprised at how much the children really knew about India, and especially when I showed the picture of the rickshaw, I was surprised at how many had actually been inside one and had recognized them, and how much prior knowledge and schema they really had about some of the things in the book. That's why I'd really like to go back and revisit it and really have a deeper conversation about some of the things that were in the illustrations.
Awesome. So I'm going to just have you do one more introduction, and then we'll be done. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Sandra Sobin, and I teach at May Watts Elementary in Naperville, Illinois, which is part of the Indian Prairie School District 204.
Great. You are done.